In 2018, the Los Angeles Lakers gave a white, balding, interesting prospect in Alex Caruso an opportunity 2 years after he had just went undrafted. Caruso then ended up being one of the key rotational pieces on a team that won a title. And just 2 years ago, the Lakers gave another white undrafted player in Austin Reeves an opportunity. And just last year, he was the most efficient guard in all of basketball. Call it what you want, luck, prowess as an evaluator, or a affinity and love for the white hoopers in our league. The Lakers have had a lot of success in the undrafted market, and it seems that they've had another hit in Colin Castleton. When people imagine Castleton in an NBA role, it was one as a DHO hub and screen and roller that accentuated his intersection between skill and size. And speaking of skill, let's talk about his most important skill, which is probably his touch. Nick Smith Jr., Brandon Podziemski, Leonard Miller, all of these players have rightfully earned their titles as touch gods, but Colin Castleton, in my opinion, was greatly underrated in these talks pre-draft. Castleton, at a sturdy 6'11", has a affinity for floaters and touch rim shots off the glass that I haven't seen from many centers with this type of size. Castleton is unidirectionally dangerous with his floater shot making. He can hit it from any area on the court inside of 8 feet. And this type of shot making is something that translates well to the NBA because it's not reliant on an athletic advantage that he has in the summer league. While I'd argue that Castleton is a high quality mover in terms of flexibility at his size, I don't think that he has enough agility or quickness in any direction to really be considered a above athletic threshold NBA center. But one does not need to be over the athletic threshold to consistently get floaters and push shots off. You can be efficient on these shots without having much lift on them or having much athletic pop in general. Castleton shot over 47% on runners in college, which ranked in the 80th percentile in the entire nation. And so far in Summer League, it's making up a pretty big part of his shot diet, and he's shooting over 70% from the field. So yes, while Castleton isn't the greatest athlete, his touch can be the great equalizer, which closes the bridge between his athleticism and the average center. His lack of athleticism and pop vertically will mean that he will have to consistently finish under the rim through contact. But touch is the ultimate weapon in aiding that for most players and should be so for Castleton. What the touch is, though, is only a micro piece of the bigger picture that Summer League is painting for Castleton as a player long term. Castleton's overall feel and orchestration offensively help him as a DHO hub and as a screener in general. Here you'll see Castleton gesturing for Demoy Hodges to get into the corner so that the Lakers can set up a snug pick and roll on the low block. Castleton does a good job selling the DHO to Swider before pitching it to Hodges on the left block. They get into their snug pick and roll. The pick and roll defender overplays the handler in Hodges, and because of the lax backline defense from Brandon Miller here, Castleton is able to get a free 2 points simply because he did a good job orchestrating offense as a DHO hub. Castleton does a really good job keeping the flow of offense as a DHO guy, consistently and swiftly looking for DHO partners to allow these guys the room to get downhill and create for others or score for themselves out of jump shots. And as we discussed, he has the ability to score out of these actions with his push shots, and he's even shown the ability to extend his range a little bit to the mid-range and knock down nose shots with some effectiveness. Castleton has also found success as a high elbow distributor, finding cutters on back cuts with high velocity passes in wider and tighter windows. And lastly, but certainly not least, Castleton's fluidity at his size allows him to be a legitimate grab-and-go weapon offensively, making decisions as a scorer and passer in these chances. The ability to score out of pick and rolls, get into DHOs with fluidity and swiftness, make plays from the elbow, and be a weapon in transition make Castleton a extremely interesting offensive big prospect. But is his defense good enough to stick around in the league long term? In terms of defense, Castleton has a bunch of interesting and positive traits, but ultimately his final evaluation as a defender is dependent on how well he's able to hold up athletically. In terms of ground coverage at his size, Castleton does a very good job of covering a lot of ground in a short amount of time. He has short quarter burst and movement skills that allow him to really shine in a role as a helper and roamer weak side, making horizontal rotations to protect the rim and allowing his length to swallow up shots at the rim. In pick and roll, his abilities in terms of hand and body position and his overall instincts in terms of swipe downs and the general quality of hands that he has as a defender will do him well and will allow him to rack up a lot of steals and blocks in these positions. But overall, there is a big worry that his lack of power and functional strength in his upper body, as well as lack of short burst verticality off the ground, will hurt him as a rim protector and as a rebounder in these positions. It's a major part of why he's racked up as many fouls as he has in the summer league. And it's a trait that I think may very well translate towards the NBA in a negative light. But there is hope for him in terms of adding muscle in his upper body. The counterpoint is how that deflates some of the mobility that has aided him in every other aspect of the sport. Crossroads in terms of if a bigger, more full Castleton is as dynamic of an offensive player, and if the one at his current weight will be able to functionally be a positive NBA defender, is one that the Lakers will likely have to solve if he's a part of their long-term plans. But for now, Castleton is a really fun story and a added player in what seems like a long line of impactful undrafted Lakers players.